there's a bit of a delay, about 15 to 20 seconds, I would say. And I look like a dancing head. That's why I put on my black. Ooh, 110 people watching. No pressure whatsoever. I can handle this. Okay, I think the delay is maybe 40 seconds. So, yes. Let's see. Good, so I'm going to look over to my other computer. It's a bit odd having such a bit of a lag between what I see on my feedback monitor and what I see on my laptop. Yes. So, yeah, dancing head, exactly. So, yes. Oh, Al, oh my God. Oh, burnt Lutz. Burnt, yeah. I can crash it if you want. No. Good. So, welcome everyone. 138 people. That's great. And, yeah, let's begin with some pleasantries. If anything goes wrong with the stream, please start shouting. And oh, from Algeria, hello. That's much closer to my original home. Okay, so a couple of announcements. So I think in a few days, it's the 11th of September today, on the 14th, Maxon has a great lineup of amazing artists again at IBC 2018 in Amsterdam. And for anyone that's not going to be there, tune in to c4dlive.com and watch a large array of brilliant artists showing off their skills and the powers of cinema 4D. You can go to c4dlive.com and check out their names. And I think I have a screen for this. So let's go. IBC. Yes, there you go. With the links and the logos and everything. I'm using OBS software. And yeah, it's working so fine. Just to let you know, if anything goes wrong, it's not my fault. It's probably your fault. Hello from Pakistan. Hello, Hamza. How are you doing? So, yeah, remember, it's never my fault. It's someone else's fault. YouTube's or OBS's or Apple's or, I don't know, Intel's or something. But it's never, ever my fault. Okay, so tomorrow is half-res, September the 12th. So good luck to anyone that's there, both the presenters or the people that are going to meet, and because of the beer consumption. Yeah, take it easy. So how to build a smoke volume for the R20. Oh, that's easy to settle. You can't. Anyway, so it's funny that I can make a few jokes and then I have to stare at my screen for a few seconds to see if people laughed. Yes. So, oh, top VFX from Panama. Oh my, I'm missing a lot of your comments, so I apologize beforehand. And let's continue with a couple of things. So, welcome to this kind of experiment we're doing for Cineversity Live. And our attempt is to try and revive the actual series and do it in a way that will be quite enticing to the users and useful at the same time and entertaining, which are, that I can guarantee. I can't guarantee insofar as the usefulness of it, but the entertainment qualities will be there. So this particular episode is basically you are my lab subjects, and I'm going to test. We're going to test the technology, see how this goes, and in return, you're going to see a few hopefully new things you will like. But above all, I want to start a kind of a conversation. So I'd like your questions, because we have a lot of new features in Cinema 4D R20. I would like you to ask things because at Cineversity we want to make a lot of new fascinating tutorials, and the only way we can do this is if you provide us with the questions and the ideas to create these tutorials. So anyway, you need to know that again, the onus of the responsibility for the success of this endeavor relies on you 100%. I'm reading this actually. And if you don't give us feedback, if you don't interact, then it won't be as good as it should. Plymouth, hey, oh my God, yeah, and China, wow. What are you doing up at this time? Yeah, go to bed, rest. Anyway, so rule, it's never my fault, okay? I have to repeat it a few times. So, a few more things, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty of Cinema 4D. What I would like to introduce in this Cineversity Live series is read testimonials from users, only the positive ones, especially if they're for me. I like patting myself in the back. There's going to be heavy censoring, by the way. So read user questions and ideas for tutorials, and you will see today I have my little Maxon little thing here, and I'm taking notes, and this is good because that will allow me to avoid answering any questions that may or may not embarrass me. We want to create 3D challenges with rewards, all sorts of rewards, from hanging out with me to having a discussion with me. What else? Raffles. Yes, we may get some sponsors and raffle some things out. Even some training from Noseman knows. We're going to promote user work, which is the idea behind this is to create a community. What else? Voice concerns, that will be censored heavily as well. We may have guest appearances from people we mostly like, or even sometimes people we dislike. We're going to talk about art and philosophy. What else? I'm checking out the notes. Algeria. What else? And generally feedback. Okay, you can find me and anyone else. We're kind of public figures, so you can your information will reach us. You can either email and or find me on, I don't know, CG Society on Twitter. I don't really frequent C4D Cafe for no particular reason. It's just a habitual thing, but I try to push myself to go there. Anyway, above all, I want to hear your voices, because without your voices, this is just my excellent voice being heard. And yeah, good, 193 people. Okay, so let's begin. A few weeks ago, well, last week actually, Maxon announced the Cinema 4D R20, and I'm going to start showing a few things, demystifying a few things. This is complimentary, okay? So let me get your questions here. I'm going to stop and ask for questions. I want to see how we're going to make this work. If there's an interesting, something interesting. Hello from Chechnya. Hi from Toronto. Okay. All right. Let me see. Venezuela. Oh my God. So many people from so many places on the planet. I'm so happy. Yes, Hamza, I'm opening the software. Okay, so let's switch to Cinema 4D and show you a couple of things we're going to talk about. So this is me alone. Good. And main screen. Pa-pam, pa-pam. So yeah, this is one of the things we're gonna see. And what I'm going to do is create a new scene. And the number one thing I would like to talk about is the new volume workflow. And I'm going to show you very quickly how fast it is and how easy it is to do some excellent modeling. Now, again, these are going to be things which we will analyze in detail, but just to give you a heads up. So let's just randomly start adding some objects and see what we can do. So I'm going to add let's take a cylinder here and just manually open it up, and then go to volumes and create a volume builder. This is a generator that generates volumes. Make it a child, and we already have a volume here. I'm going to set this to something slightly lower, and this volume is nothing but a collection of little squares called voxels. Watch my Cineversity tutorials to see more. So then we're going to add a mesher, and this becomes meshed. I always turn these on. Now don't worry about the jaggies, we're going to take care of them in a bit. Now how can we enhance what we are seeing here? Okay, turn off the mesher for now. Let's go and punch a hole in this thing. So I'm going to make a copy of this cylinder. I'm going to make it smaller. I'm going to use my move tool to pull it down. And in the volume builder, I'm going to set my new cylinder to subtract. That's as simple as that. So now we have a hole. If I mesh this again, you will see this is what we have. Now the good thing with the volume is that it pretty much understands any type of Cinema 4D object. So let's continue with the cylinders. I'll make a cylinder copy, and I'm going to add one of these little old objects, the array object. And what I'm going to do is just bring this in slightly, like that. Let's make our cylinder, and I'm freestyling now. I don't even know what I'm trying to make. Which takes away the responsibility of doing something sensible. And I'm going to drag it in here, go to my volume builder, make sure it's on the top, and subtract this as well. So there you go. So we have this, I don't know, bottle cap or something like that. Let's continue. Let's create a dome on top of it. So here's my original cylinder. It has a radius of this. Copy it. Let's create a sphere. Let's paste the radius. Let's drag this gentleman in here, and let's pull it up, and there we go. Did I paste? Didn't I paste? I don't know. Now you can see that it's overlapping here. No problem. Just make sure that this is underneath the cut. Now we can increase the number of polygons or go and do some settings. When we select the builder, we can select any one of these objects, and one of my upcoming tutorials is talking in detail about all the attributes you see under here. So I'm not going to spend too much time, but you can see just by changing the position over here, which doesn't match this position, by the way. Okay, make no mistake, the hierarchy here is independent of the hierarchy in here, and this is actually a very beneficial thing. But you can see we can create all sorts of interesting things. Let's add a couple more things to give you a small idea of what's happening. I like to work with most of my objects outside the volume builder just to begin with, and then move on. So I'm going to make a copy of this and make it a bit smaller. So we have these two. I'm actually going to just drag them in or put them under a null. Let's see what happens. Put them under a null, go to the null and subtract it. And it works good. All I need to do is just get these two little guys and make them a bit thinner, I guess, something like that. Now you can see we have all these little jaggies again, and we just need to increase the resolution of our builder. Okay, and sometimes you just need to increase the resolution of what you're doing here. 36 and maybe 150, and maybe make them a bit larger so they're kind of outside. There you go. Nice. Now, if you're wondering how we can kind of eliminate a lot of these things, there are a few ways. Number one, the facets you see here are a result of the original geometry. So if I go to my original cylinder, which if you name things, you won't have these problems. So I think it's one called cylinder, and you increase the number of segments, it will work, and it won't really impact the time it takes. And you can see it's quite a dense mesh. Now, they're kind of a lot of people are using these filters. So these filters down here are filters that actually smooth our volume. So if I add this smooth layer here, you can see the volume is smooth, so everything else will be smooth. But something else you can do, I'm going to turn it off temporarily, is just put this under a null and add a smoothing deformer. Fantastic. So this will take care of other parts of the jaggies. So let's turn this on now. I'm going to be a bit fast because we're going to show most of these things as we go ahead. And there you go. We have this nice little model here, which depending on how far it's going to be rendered, it may be good. So now let's go back and read some of the questions. The banging and all that is my microphone. So, okay. Oh, we have Rick answering questions. Thank you very much. How do I... So pop out chat. No, you didn't. YouTube has a pop out chat. Holy. So let's see there. So how do we... Let's see how we can do this. If anyone has a question from now on, can you please just capitalize question? Just write question So just write this question, and then just write your question. I've just posted. So let's go. Have Panama and Pro Render. Yeah, that's not going to happen today. I have a Mac Pro 2010, and it's got an RX 480. It works with High Sierra, but it's something about the drivers. It's okay for doing some tests, but not to really show things. Hi from India and Plymouth and and Virginia. So let's go. Why am I not opening the software? Well, it was open already. Okay. Let's go. Brazil, Germany, Russia. I'm trying to find questions. Let's go down. What do I do to... Bernd wants to know what he can do to hang out with me. Yeah. You only hang out with me when we're at shows. Okay. What are you most excited about? Vessel Studios. Thomas Brown or Kelvin. I don't know who that is, but I think it's Thomas Brown. He's asking, what am I excited about R20? Fields, volumes, alembic, pretty much everything. I think it's one of those releases which have so much. You can do so many new things. Alexandra, thank you very much for the compliment. It will be recorded. Hopefully, I think Rick pressed the button. Is it being recorded? So, SIGGRAPH in India, yep. So I'm trying to look for questions here. If I miss something, can you mix the L system with the volumes? Yes, you can mix the L system with the volumes. And just as the questions come in, I'm going to try and keep it as simple as possible. So new scene, and so if you go to the Mospline, we have the Turtle, which is basically an L system. Now, if you search online for L systems, you will find amazing stuff. Now, it's not the most intuitive thing. This little thing is a sort of a programming language, but once you get your head around this, it's very interesting. And generally, in the values, I think the growth is what makes these things grow. And yes, this is fully supported in volumes. So let's go volume. Let's go to the volume builder. Put this guy in here. And in the volume builder, you select the Mospline. Let's put the density to 1. I need to make sure that there's enough thickness scale. This, when we use a Mospline, again, this is something that's going to be in my videos. When you put a Mospline in the volume builder, this is the scale that defines the thickness of that. So let's see what this does now. And let's go to volume measure, drag it in here and see what comes out. Let me turn off my view, so line, and let's go and add some thickness over here. There we go. There we go. Ooh, for scale, let's go and select this. We have enough density. The scale, maybe I need to grow this a bit more. I'm clicking randomly here because I'm trying to focus. So it's growing, yes, but there we go. And let me go and not the tropism. Where's my scale value in the object? I'm just going to scale this up and see what happens. There we go. Oh, yes. Yeah, I apologize. It's just that this whole thing, I didn't make this resolution good enough. So, all right, let's begin, because this is a mistake that many people are going to do. I totally forgot that this scale here, so the spline here is 9.6 centimeters thick, and for some reason it's not creating a volume. And the reason is that my volume resolution is too high. So the voxel value, the equivalent of the pixel, is too high. If I make this smaller, now you will see that it's going to work. So I apologize for that, but it's a good opportunity for you to see what you need to take care of. So this value needs to be higher than this value. Otherwise, then there's not enough density with the voxels to actually create a volume. So there we go. So I can mesh this, and over here I can control the thickness, and if I select the growth, you will see that it works with the volumes. Now, the good thing is that because this is a MoGraph object, I can go and attach objects to the ends or to the bases of each and every one of the branches according to the turtle rules. If you go to the help in Cineversity, you will see all those rules. And yeah, pretty much this is the answer. It does work with the L systems. I was doing some research because I'm not very good at the L systems to see, because there's some great scientific papers that use L systems to create all sorts of anatomical details like veins, like I don't know, vessels and all that. And yes, we may have something sooner rather than later. Thanks for the question. Okay, let's go. The only way you can't unwrap. No, you can't unwrap models. There is volume builder to UV. No. Okay. Most blind with volumes. Yes. We just showed that. So talking about volumes, and let me just go quickly through the questions. Why did you put the HDR in the color channel? Oh yeah, that's a question for an old tutorial. I need to answer this very quickly. Why did I put in my high dynamic range image I used as a environment when I use the sky object? I'm moving around a bit, but these are interesting questions. So I have my cube, and I'm going to load some sort of object, some sort of image here. So high dynamic range image. And I'm going to use the kitchen probe. And no, there you go. So people ask me why, when I'm going to use it in a sky object, I put it in the color channel. Well, the reason is very simple. It's one of the reasons, basically. If you put it in the luminance channel, if I'm going to use, for example, a plane or something to catch some shadows. So if this is my plane, I want to catch some shadows, and I want to use the same image I'm using elsewhere. If I put in the luminance channel, there will be no shadows because the luminance overrides its additive effect. So if you put it in the color channel, and by using a compositing tag on the floor, compositing tag, you add compositing background. The compositing background is going to give you the full luminance of whatever image you're putting there. It doesn't react to additive effects like light, but it reacts to darkening effects like ambient occlusion and shadows. So yes, I may make a tutorial if needed. It's a very quick tip, a small quick tip I can do about this. But that's the reason. There could be other reasons, but that's what I consider the correct way to use it. Put your HDRs in a color channel, not the luminance channel, and that's settled. So let's go down. Should record automatically? Yes. Okay, let's see. Is there a way to create a custom pop menu with like the V hotkey? I would not know that at this moment. Question: can you texture a different, like inner balls, another color? Okay, so this is an interesting question. Currently, there's no automatic way to colorize parts of your what we are creating in our volume builder. So for example, the model I was making over here, and this comes up relatively often. Now, you can't do it directly. You can do it indirectly in certain ways. And I am developing a Python tag that actually can do certain things on the mesher itself. We just need to tweak it a bit because we just want to make sure it won't create any problems, and that will allow you to do this. Otherwise, it's just manual ways of lighting it, or making it editable and then going into the traditional ways. But I'm pretty sure solutions are being worked on for all these things for the future. So let's go. Enables, blah, blah, blah. Can I lower the poly count with polygon reduction? Oh, first of all, so this is a very interesting question, and thanks for asking. So by default, the mesher creates it's based on I think it's marching cubes algorithm. In my case, it will be walking slowly algorithm. Anyway, in the volume mesher, you can actually use the adaptive mode, and this will add as much detail as needed where it's needed. And if you can find a nice little sweet spot just by picking off a couple of percentages here, and it will save quite a bit. On the other hand, I mean, the poly reduction is a generator. I don't even know. I haven't even tried this. Let's go and see what's going to happen. What's going to happen? So it does. Oh, there you go. It's post-processing. By the way, I'm using oh, there you go. It works. If it crashes, it's probably your fault. But Cineversity doesn't crash. So yeah, so it works. That's settled. That was an easy one. So, can you animate the objects under the volume? Oh yeah, of course. But that's one of the beauties of this, because it's purely procedural. You can do whatever you want. So let's go here and let's rotate this or move it up and down. So let's add a keyframe here and add a keyframe here. Bonk, 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 bam. There you go. Now it takes its time to do its calculation, but you can animate it properly, which means that you can bake this as Alembic. So this is one of the new goodies about this. You can right-click and say bake as Alembic or bake as Alembic and delete, and it will actually export the hierarchy as one Alembic object and either replace it or just make a copy in the scene. And that's fantastic for baking. It allows for an extension of our, so to speak, baking tools. Okay. So, Vessel Studios, again, these people just always ask questions. Okay, did I miss one up there? Pop-up menu. Good, okay. Can you do something like use trails with the particles? Can you use trails with the particles, please? So let's go and do something like that. That's an interesting one. So, we'll create an emitter. We will, there you go, late. On the Y, so these go upwards, lovely. And let's add a few frames here, 200 frames. And what I'm going to do is add a tracer object. So MoGraph, let's go and add a tracer object. So now we have lines. And yeah, I'm just going to add, just for the fun of it, some turbulence. And let's add some scale here. Let's play this. And there you go. Fantastic. And these are splines. And because they're splines, and let's make these, I'll make these die sooner. So stop emission, I'm going to do it at 50 frames and lifetime at, I don't know, 100 frames. So the lines should at some point stop. Let's see. So it's going to go up and ponk. There you go. So the lines are still here. No problem. And what I'm going to do is add this under a volume builder. So let's drag this down, put my tracer onto the volume builder, press play, there you go, and let's make sure everything here is nice and dandy. Oops, make sure this is smaller than that, and let's put 1 for the density, and there you go. So volume measure, and there they are. Wank, wank, wank. Yeah, fantastic. Not only that, if you combine this with the most spline, we can actually change the thickness of these little buggers. Let's try this. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? And yeah, famous last words. Okay, spline, let's drop it in here. And yes, I just want the forces to exclude everything. I just want the raw spline. And what do I want to do? Yes, because the most spline is a most spline object, we can control its thickness. Okay, so I'm not going to put that there. I'm going to put this one there because I want to control the thickness. Now the thickness is controlled, as I said, by the width. There you go. But at the same time, I can use effectors to change. So I'm going to use a step effector just to make it simple. And there you go. I think I showed something like this in SIGGRAPH. But anyhow, you can use it in any context. I hope that wowed you. Let's go further down. So, can you animate? Yeah, we saw that. Do you get better Boolean by placing a Boolean inside the volume builder instead of doing a Boolean operation within the volume builder? No, don't. You can use anything under volume builder. You can put particles, splines, MoGraph objects, matrices, anything you want, even fields. And you can put Boolean objects under. But why? It's just doesn't really make sense. But yes, you can create a Boolean subtraction or something like that and use that as an input to volume builder. But I would say that that's kind of impractical since you can do everything in the builder. So, but you can do it, yes. How far can you go with multi-instances count? Tree model visible, not with boxes. Oh no, at a SIGGRAPH, I think it was like 80 billion. I don't even remember. I got one of the trees from the content browser. I can do this. It's just going to take 3 or 4 minutes to calculate. Just download the demo and try it. Now, the way you're going to use it, though, I'm going to show you the way. I'm not going to do it because we have other things pressing. So, content browser, let's go presets and let's find a tree. And press enter if you want to see the trees. And let's double click and bring this little guy here. Don't even know how much this guy has. So just pick the trunk. Just going to make it as simple as possible. So there are a couple of ways you can do it. Let's go and try one of the easiest. Create a cloner. Create a grid array. And let's make 50 and 50. Set this to multi-instances and change this so your viewport is fast to points. And this will allow you to have points. And then just drop the tree in here. Now you can see each one of these points is a tree. So it's actually already started. It has started, my friend. So copy, paste, paste. Oh, whatever. I'm rendering. So there you go. We have 50 times 50 trees. That's how you do it. So how many polygons is this thing? I have no idea. So that's 200,000 polygons. Yeah, I'm trying to read that. So it says, whatever, 51,000 polygons. Yep. And times 2,500. I think that's the number. Anyway, so we pushed this to SIGGRAPH on a small PC, and yeah, it took a few minutes to calculate, but we had billions of polygons. So, and this is the way to do it. Don't forget to switch this to viewport points. Otherwise, it will have to calculate whatever it has to calculate to show it in the viewport. And in the case of my graphics card, it's going to be terrible. So let's go further down. Tree model visible and so forth. Yes, and I challenge you to try that. How to make subsurface scattering with the new nodes. Subsurface scattering is not supported with the new nodes. And that was an ENC one. Oh, come on, why is it popping that way? It's popping downwards. Sorry for that. Let's go. West Media from Greece. Hello. Oh my God! Yeah, the actual questions, the chat flipped downwards. Okay, right. I'm here. Okay. Okay. Next question. Volume technique is good to make fast objects and so forth, but not easy for high polygon reduction in the future. Well, it depends. You can use it in many different things. For organic objects, it's perfectly. But even so, I have a rule about the new VDB modeling. It's for doing anything you will make as a cast object. So I think that's the best one. So if you're making things which are cast, like for example a lighter, which is plastic, these are perfect to do, or a stopwatch. Okay, a stopwatch. This would be perfect to do with VDB modeling, and yeah, there are a few great examples, especially ones from Glenn Johnson, Carburetor, and all that, which are actually ideal for these kind of things. So, and where's that? There you go. See, you can still see me and the screen. And let's continue downwards. Let's go. Sorry for the delays. Maybe this is one of the things I need to change the setup. So volume seem like Dynamesh and ZBrush. Yes, it is like Dynamesh. I think that Dynamesh gives us a cleaner kind of quad topology. This is a marching cubes. It's part of the OpenVDB library thing, and it's very particular. And it is useful. You can use it with sculpting and all that. And there's even a little thingamadoodle here, volume mesh, where you just select your mesh and it volumizes it, and then you can use it in the sculpting context. Okay, I'd like to tackle some of these once. Oh, that was Cineversity, sorry. Let's go further down. Animate objects and yep, that's it. Click answer. Volume measure has an adapted open. Yep. There you go. Off topic, Cineversity stop motion. Nope, that's not for me. Can you show about the node materials and ProRender, please? ProRender does not work with the node materials. I apologize. No, actually, Bernd should apologize for that. Okay, so not me. But yes, ProRender does not work with the nodes. The nodes have not been made to have compatibility with ProRender. It's only for standard and physical renderer. Okay, so is the ability to account state to object and then use the polypen to retopo the mesh. Well, you can use any mesh to retopo the mesh, any mesh. There's no limit to that. And yeah, the workflow is up to you to choose. There's no limitation in that respect. We do need better retopologizing tools, by the way. Did I just say that? Yes, I did. I thought I was thinking out loud. So, when objects without another object to create a knitting effect. Well, a knitting effect, that's a complex one. There are a few tutorials about knitting effects. I haven't dealt with any yet, but I don't know, maybe. Okay, let's go further down. Undo an accidental camera move. Oh, that's an interesting one. Control-Shift-Z. Or go here and undo view. It undoes any camera views. Command-Shift-Z or Control-Shift-Z. I don't know. I thought everyone knew that. Yeah, there's a different undo stack for moves. Okay. Can you do a volume placing building said? Why are these things popping up again? Give the objects cloned on the same spline. Animate the scale of the objects while the spline grows. So, can you do a volume of a spline together with objects cloned on the same spline and animate the scale of the objects while the spline grows? I'm not exactly sure what you mean, but given the fact that, for example, you can use hair to clone objects or anything like that, you can do all sorts of things. One thing I was showing the other day was that we can use hair. So if you add hair here and make sure that you generate splines, spline hair, just make sure we don't have too many. Let's go 150. When I say too many, just because they'll just blend on each other. And all you have to do is just drop these under volume builder and you're good to go. So volume builder, go here. Let's make this 5. Let's make this 6, 1, and there you go. And you can always go and clone things at the ends of these if you wish to do so to create kind of blobs and so forth. So I guess the answer is yes. Let's go. And of course you can get the hair to grow as well. So forget about that. So length, turn these off, and you can kind of, there you go. And we can animate how this grows, and it will grow the hair. Boopy doopy. There you go. So this should work. And it works. Oh, and gravity works as well. And I mean, if you can do this with 3 objects and 2 keyframes, I mean, really? Let's go and just add a mesher. You will see quite a few pieces welded. Now, caution, the mesher just checks the volume. It can't check and see what object is separate from each other, okay? And it's one of the advantages that makes it extremely fast. What I would say is go play with your hair dynamics somewhere here and make sure that you have hair on hair collision, and hair on hair you have a radius which is bigger than the distance from the hair, so the bigger than actually the radius you're using. And in that situation, you'll get much less overlapping. Okay, let's move down. I use layers to create the illusion of changed materials in volumes. Okay. Can you use nodes to deform polygons? No. The nodal system is only for materials currently, and only for the standard and the physical renderer. So what's the difference between PBR node and Uber material? So a question about the Uber material and everything over here. So in the create, we have all these node materials. These are nothing but presets made with the nodal system, and they're nicely packaged together. Now, I am not the best person to talk about these things, but in any case, if you go to the car paint and double click here and go to node editor, you will see precisely how the person that made it, the creator, so you'll see this node, and I guess you have to ungroup this, right click and edit asset. There you go. And in here you just click and you go inside, and yeah, you just navigate, and these are the nodes that were used. What you see here is just a creation of the interface. You can just go to any one of these values and right click and say propagate port, and it will add it here, and it will become the interface you will find over here. Okay, so base, flakes, gloss, editor, editor, basically base, what else do we have here? The flakes, and so forth. All these are parameters, and some of these have been set in the interface. But the idea is that you can just share your own assets. So if you are a TD and you create your own nodal materials, you can then package them as an asset and add them to the menus over here. Okay, so or just save them with a scene, or save in a library. And yeah, those are little details I'm not very familiar with, but these are nothing more than actual presets made with a nodal editor by beta testers and some nice folk at Maxon. Okay, so just materials. Okay, what else? I think I read the sweet spot about for measure reduction is 1.5. How to reaction diffusion with fields. Well, I'm not going to spend time on reaction diffusion because I think it's been done on the SIGGRAPH presentation. Who am I kidding? I was dying for someone to ask this. Okay, so we have a plane. It's editable, and I'm going to add a vertex map, and we just go to character and we say paint tool. Yes, Bernd, I heard you working on a much more elegant solution. So go here, turn on fields, and just go here and clear this. And let's see if this is going to work. So we need some sort of seed. Okay, I'm just going to seed this. I'll seed it with a spherical field. So whatever the spherical field is now, we're getting a value of 1. How this exactly works, we will see in tutorials that are coming up. So I'm just going to put this little guy here. And I'm going to set this to normal and set this to max, I guess. Now, this is kind of a layer that saves the values. And if it doesn't work, just go and watch Tim Clappen's presentation. I'm going to grow this, which is basically sort of a blurring of what's happening here. Can I add this? Let's go and see what's going on here. So it will grow. If you can see, there you go. Now, this is a growing effect. But if I put it in average, this is a blurring effect. So this is kind of blurring the values underneath. And auto update. Let me change this value. And I think I've got too many polygons here. And yeah, you can see it's growing. It's growing. Okay, I may have too many polygons, and I'm recording this at the same time. And basically, I take this freeze. I think I put it on max, and then I make a copy of this. Take the top one out of the top of my head. I'm going to make this slightly less. I'm going to make this 20, and I'm going to make this 30, the bigger the number, or 40, and I'm going to subtract this. If I'm not mistaken, that should be the way to do this. There you go. and or multiply or something like that. And then I'm going to add I think Orestes now is losing his mind. Like, no, this is not the way to do it. And I think somewhere here I have the range map. I'm just going to contrast it by making this a much higher value. And yeah, there you go. I mean, I have a bit of a mistake, but what you see here is reaction diffusion. So I did it. Okay. And this is basically it. If you go to the Entagma website, you will see a fantastic explanation by Moritz on how to do reaction diffusion. And here is just replicating this. Wow, this doesn't look that shabby. I'm just proud of myself now. Yeah. I actually expected it to fail. Exactly how to do it, you know, at the end of the day, I'd love to do a very small quick tip on how to do reaction diffusion. So now everyone is going to do reaction diffusions everywhere. And yes, I have this. Sorry about that. Where is my main screen? There you go. Sorry about that. I had you watching my face all the time. Reaction diffusion reacts to the. How does it? UVs react to the volume measure. I'll let Germany reply to that. So let's go. Is there ability to take the volume builder mesh and then hit count state object and then use? Oh yeah. We. Yes, you can. Can R20 replace X particles? No. X particles is a fully featured particle system and then some. I can apply texture layer volume like Boolean object. I think I answered that earlier. You can do that manually. Volume mesh doesn't really create useful UVs. Yep, that's Cineversity. Yep. Oh, the screen switched again. Stop. Okay. Fusion resources, please. Go to Entagma. Okay, so I may have missed a few. Can you use fields with transform tools like move, rotate, and scale? I don't know exactly what that is, but you can move them around if that's the question. So let's go and check some things off my list because I want to show you how to do something like this, for example. So this is totally inspired, plagiarized or stolen by Entagma. Just go Entagma, entgma.com, entagma.com. Whereas Manuel and Moritz are doing fantastic tutorials and are very inspiring because, yes, most of their tutorials are for a different platform, but their ideas are fantastic, and it's good that we can actually transfer some of these things. And what the idea is here, and let me just delete my animation over here, is that we have this kind of wavy situation going on, which is reacting. There are no keyframes. What you see here has no keyframes. And basically, wherever I rotate this, and I'm going to turn this off for a second so you can see exactly what's happening. Wherever I put the text, the wave goes with it. I can have a wake at the end, I can rotate it here, and so forth. And we can apply this effect on anything like a plane and so forth. So let's just grab my text and go into a new scene. And there's a bit of a rule of thumb. If you want to prototype your field work, there are a couple of ways to do it. You either create a plane, a high-density plane, and you work with a vertex map like I did with the reaction diffusion and just check the colors to see what the values are. Or, as I'm going to do in this case, you go to MoGraph, you create a matrix object, which is a relatively fast way of doing things. And just expand this, I don't know, maybe 65 and 65 to create a square. Now, don't forget to turn this down because I hate that that white color. Just, makes my eyes hurt. And maybe turn on SSAO. There you go. So this is our platform. If I render this, you don't see anything because I'm just using the matrix object. So let me show you a few things about how fields work. So although about half of the effectors still have their own unique abilities, for most of the stuff you're going to use and to begin, just put a plain old effector in here. And the plain effector is just going to push things up. And let's say I'm going to push them up by 50. And I'm going to get rid of the color for now because it's annoying me. And you can see that everything moves up. So now here's where the magic begins. I'm just going to put it here so we can have a visual. So I'm going to name this text. In the plane effector, in the fall off now, not only we can add any of these lists of objects, but we can actually drag and drop pretty much anything we want. So if I drag the text in here, immediately you will see that we have this point object. If I select it underneath here in the layer tab, you will see that we have all sorts of modes: points, surface, volume, and so forth. And this means that this becomes a fall off object. And if you have it in points mode, it's particularly fast. And you can see I'm expanding the reach. So what it does, it takes the points of this object and it expands it by 100, even more. And it applies the effect of the plane effector over this distance. There you go. If I go to the side view, you will see this. There you go. So we have this kind of fall off now. Now here are a few tips and tricks. If you go to the fall off and you select this, in the remapping tab, you'd actually see this shape. This shape represents the transition of values from the closest point on the object, which is over here. You can just see it peeking out from the bottom, all the way to the end of this distance here, 171. If I put a cube here and measure it, it's going to be from here to here, 171. Okay, so that's step number one. That's okay, but this is not a wave, okay? If you see a wave, then I think you need to go to sleep. So how do we make this into a wave? Well, it's fantastic that the developers have included the ability to change this type of line. And this is down here where it says contour. If it's closed, you open it up and you go and you say contour mode, curve. And this is our typically used spline GUI. Let me do that and let's go down, spline GUI. And of course I can right click here and say presets sign. There you go, we've got one wave. But not only that, we actually have the ability to increase the range. So I'm going to make this 400% and I'm going to get 4 waves for each one we had before. There you go. Now the resolution is not that good at this point. I'm going to make it 200% so we get 2 waves. And we have this kind of undulation. Maybe I should have used a polygon object. Now watch this. This is why this new system is fantastic, because I make a plane, I make it 200 by 200. I don't make it editable. I just drag my plane underneath here, set it to point, turn off my matrix, and now my plane, and of course remember that the point coordinates in the normal direction are the Z, and now this is what I have. So I just moved my effector from one context, not even to the other, because it's still applied here. I just turned this little bugger off. So I can have them both working in a similar way. Now mind you that in this case, because the parameters are different, I have to do it in a sort of a different way. But the good thing in these situations, and something, let's, I don't know, I may become a bit more adventurous over here. You can actually use things like a group field, which allows you to use the same fields in many contexts and so forth. Anyway, let me turn off the matrix and let me just make this, let's make it 600 by 600. Fantastic. And you can see we have our little wave. Now you can see these little blobbies here. This is because we've got the point mode in here. Go to layer, point mode. Now if I put it on surface, it will be more accurate, but it's much slower because it has to sample more points. One thing I like to do, not because I found out myself, but someone told me, thank you Orestes. Anyhow, what you can do is just increase the number of points on the object itself. So let's go and do that little trick thing I do always. You go to the spline and you set your points instead of adaptive to subdivided, so you get more subdivisions across the lines. And I think that will do in this case. There you go, much smoother. And you can increase the points even more if you wish to do so. I think I need to turn it off and on or something like that. No, it's fine. I can go and make these 2 and 2 and more points and whatnot. Yes. Try this again. There you go. So it needs some sort of refresh. Hope someone's listening. Excellent. So we got this little wave going on, okay? And it's pretty fast here. You can see in the timeline it's pretty fast. So let's make it move. How do we make it move? Well, again, if you go to the remapping tab, let's see what's going on over here. Private video. Okay. Anyway, so we'll see in a second. So if you go down here to where we changed this spline, we have an animation speed. Fantastic. Let's make it 30. And this will, I think, cycle this over 30 frames or something like that. And there you go. We have a nice little wave. Now, with a couple of things to match the fantastic tutorial by Entagma, we need to get this to taper off at the end. So how do we do that? Very simply, I will say. So what we'll do is, let's call this text. Let me just stop this for a second. Text wave. We drag the same thing in again. And this time, we're going to expand it a bit more. And what I'm going to do here is, let's get the maximum value out of that. Actually, no, I'm actually going to subtract this or multiply. There you go, subtract. And let's see what happens here. And you can see we have the opposite effect. It's subtracting the values. And I'm going to tell you what kind of values it's subtracting. And I think that if I go to the remapping and I invert it, we get the tapering. Okay, or maybe multiply. Let's see if multiply. There you go. Maybe I don't need invert. I just need multiply. There you go. That's it. And I think on the Entagma tutorial, they talk about multiplying a certain value. There you go. So let me do this one more time. Good. You can see it's tapering off. Not only that, we can control how much of the tapering is going to happen by changing the curve just like before. So I can make it taper like this or like that just by changing the contour mode in anything I want. I can even quantize it. Yeah, it doesn't look good now because I need to add more quantized steps. There you go. So I can do all sorts of weird things like this. Fantastic. So I'm not going to put it in quantize. I'm going to undo a couple of times. And this is the effect I want. And don't forget, at any given moment, you can go here and you can change the height. Or even the number of waves. So let's just do that for a second. Let's go here. I need a few more waves. I'm going to make this 300. So now we have 3 times as much waves. There you go. And you can see it's the speed is not bad as it goes. Good. So the final thing I want to do is I want to make sure that the text does not get covered. What do? Well, you guessed it. I don't know if you guessed it. I'm just saying. You just put one more on top. And let's multiply this. And let's see what we're going to do here. Now I convert this. Good. And let's rewind. And you can see now that the middle doesn't really get affected. And I think I can change the inner offset or something like that and kind of spread it out a bit more. There you go. So now the text is pretty much, oh, there's something going on there. But anyway, I'm not going to bother about this too much. Just go and play around. You can change the values here from points to whatever you want, surface volume and so forth. And here's the great thing about this. You can actually go and change it and everything will follow. Now there's something I tried before and I want to make sure that it's going to work again. If you want this to have a kind of a wake when this is moving around, and I'm going to make my points fewer so we have a better, and this is the good thing about procedural workflows, so we have better interactivity. So what I want to do is get this little bugger, let's add some sort of vibrate tag, rotation, and yeah, okay, that's good. I want to have a kind of a secondary motion to that. And I think that if I go to the plane and add a delay effector, there you go. So now it's kind of keeping this, it's smoothing between the values, or I can go to spring and we have this kind of interesting effect going on. So we get wave interference and so forth. How's that for 4 objects and a few fields and all that? Okay. And yes, this is kind of the equivalent effect we did earlier. So let's see, where are we? Let's go. I don't want to miss a question, which basically will make me miss a question anyway. So diffusion, we saw that, attaching fall-offs to. So what I mean is attaching pluggable fall-offs to transform tools like move, scale, similar to how Modo does it. Modo. Wait, you need to see this. Modo. Okay. So let's go further down. We're planning to move to GPU renderer and wonder if node materials are a step forward towards that, or are they something unrelated? The whole nodal system is based on new architecture introduced in Cineversity R20, and although in its current form it's used for standard and physical renderer, the actual technology behind it will be available to third-party renderers very soon, as far as I know, and then it's up to them to use that technology to build their own material systems. And it will be nice if there's similarity between, and they use the same technology, but the power is there, and a lot of the stuff they had to actually create by themselves will be handled by Cinema 4D. In that case, yeah, I hope someone from Maxon has a better reply on that, but it will help in terms of having a more consistent interface for most renderers. But each render uses the data in a totally different way, so don't expect materials to be usable in more than one renderers at a time. I don't even know. Maybe there's a way to create an asset that can do that. I do not know. So dead links. Hi. So materials are supported. That was. I need to avoid reading the Cineversity replies. Wow, that's cool. It's not working. Faster. Sorry. Listening, a brief demo scene updater from Maxon Labs for R20. There's a funny thing about the scene updater. It will open up. You can. Yep. I was one of the people testing this, so I went through all my hard disks and it scanned thousands of files, and it actually went through them without a problem. And it saved copies of them and so forth. But it will reveal many things about previous projects. So I don't want to do it right now. But yeah, you just open it through 19. It selects, it tells you which files they are. You can batch save as versions which are compatible to R20, and that's just about it. So, glad signal is over. I don't know what that means. Is the fields does. Can you use the... Now you can use the volume builder, I believe. Oh, I'm just going to read the ones that say questions. Which, all right, question. Voronoi plus volumes. Voronoi plus volumes. Interesting. I haven't tried that. Let's start. Shall we start easy? All right, let's see what I can do here. I'm gonna just try and mess things up. So I'm gonna get this little guy, builder mesher. Let's go and put some. There you go. So we have one object, and I don't even know if this is going to work. Maybe someone at Maxon now is screaming, "Don't do that!" And let's go and get a MoGraph Voronoi fraction. Drag it in here. Oh, I guess it works. Okay. Oh, that was uneventful. Can you ask more complex questions, please? So, man, all the easy questions. So, by Redshift, Voronoi volumes, can you help me? R19 and ProRender, I can't. So, awesome can make... You can make awesome things from a cube, honestly. Can this be used with 4-cloth? 4-cloth? I guess. So what else? Okay, let me check my list. So question, I get funky effects if I use position values in the effector when clones are deformed with the spline deformer, but it works with scale and rotation. Now, I don't know exactly, I'm not as... I am smart, but I'm smart in a different way, okay? So sometimes when we are... so these are kind of new technologies which are combined in a very powerful way. But the execution, the priorities between different types of objects and the way they are handled in the object manager sometimes may create odd effects. So, for example, if you're using dynamics, with volumes, it's good to bake. Well, not good. It's mandated that you bake your dynamics. Imagine if you're using dynamic. Let me So, for example, this is a thing I've been doing, and it just goes a bit slow because it has to calculate a ton of things. And maybe I do it online, so it's like it's not melting really. It's just a pseudo effect of dripping underneath. So there you go. So we get this kind of dripping, and this is a combination of particles and traces and a basic object. And yeah, I guess let me give you an idea, because this combines quite a few things. I'm just going to grab my text. Now, there are some things which are easier done on polygon objects. So what I do is I will have my object. Oh, I don't have it here. I threw it away. I will have my object procedural, and I'll just current state to object to make it make a copy and use it. Now, a lot of things we can do procedurally, but in this case, not this one. So let's go and see a few things. Let's get rid of that grid. So annoying. And what I have here is a polygon selection. Now, for some of you that may not know, polygon selections, along with vertex maps and point selections, now have a use fields. Okay, so this is the default state. If you use fields, we go to the fields and we can actually create selections based on the field. So let me create a box, and you can see now what I've done here. I've got a red material, and it's just got this applied to it. So wherever I move my box now, I get that red material, because I've confined it to the selection. So what I'm going to do in this case is make it a bit shorter, thin it out, and move it backwards. I'm just moving the actual box. And the reason is I want to create a selection underneath this. So let me just make this even thinner. There you go. So I want to select these polygons underneath here, and I'm going to use this box field to do so. There you go. So this is what's happening now. As this is moving this way, it adds polygons to the selection. So what am I going to do with the selection? And that's a very good question. So let me turn myself off. What we are going to do is actually create a MoGraph cloner with a cube, or any other object for that matter. Scale it down and tell this guy to be in object mode, and I'm going to drag the selection in here. Let's add 200. So what this is going to do essentially is that as the field progresses, it adds these clones over here. So let's add some animation. I always drag the bottom part. I hate that. So let's just go to the box field and add a keyframe here. Go back to frame 0 and pull it out of here. There you go. So now, as this is coming in, these guys are generated. So what am I going to do with these guys here? Well, let me tell you. I'm going to make them fall. So cloner, simulate rigid body, individual elements in the collision, all. And now they're going to fall. Boink. So, I mean, we can end on this effect, which is really nice. So we're using fields to control where these are being generated from. But it's not going to be as easy as this. I'm going to press Command D to go to my project settings, and I'm going to go to my dynamics and set my gravity to 0. Okay, so I don't want any gravity here. Fantastic. And the next thing I want to do, I want to add some localized gravity. So I don't know how many of you know this, but we can use any of these. I'm going to go to gravity here. And in the gravity, I'm going to add a linear field, because the gravity and all the particle effects, they actually work with fields. And if you didn't know, I'm glad I told you. You can see now no gravity here, 100% gravity here, and you can see that. So another way you can control your standard particles and whatnot. So what I'm going to do is go to this field and set it to be upwards, either this way or the other way. Must be some other way, I guess. And do this. Let me just make it smaller. Let's see. Maybe I need to reverse this or something. Anyway, I'm going to add some I'm going to add some friction as well. So let's add some friction because I want these to sort of, there you go. Look at that. I like that. And let me explain what's going on. Let's make this 20. I need to stop this. Stop it. Just stop it. So there you go. So gravity, because we've applied the gravity using a linear field, we have more gravity up here and less down here. Outside the limits of our linear field, there's no gravity. They're just moving because of their initial inertia. So yeah, let's assume that I like the cubes as they are and what they're doing, and I'm happy with that. This is a good time to cache this little bugger. So I'm going to right click and go MoGraph tags and cache this, and let's bake it down. Good, so now we can scrub through this and everything is nice and dandy. So what can I do with this? Well, what I can do is go and add a tracer object. And now I should get splines as this is going down. There you go. I'm getting splines. So what do we have here? We have cubes, clones, we have splines, and we have this object. Well, let me save this. No, I'm not going to save it. I'm brave. Volume builder. Drag everything down. Drag everything down. Put the splines in here. Put the cubes in here. Do I need the cubes? I'm not going to use the cubes yet. Put that in here. Let's go here and make this 2. Click. Good. Go here. Select your tracer because we want this to be thinner, even thinner. 2. Make this, I'm going to make it 3 actually, and always change the density so we close these gaps. So I'll make this 1. And now, because this is a volume, if I put this under a mesher, I'm going to create a mesh. And if I put this under a null and add something like a smooth deformer, I'm actually going to make it nice and gooey. So let me turn this off for now. And now what we have here is a bunch of little gooey lines that are growing based on where that original little square is. And it's the mesh is actually continuous. And we can do all sorts of things. For example, we can take the result of the tracer and put it under a Mospline object and make it thicker on the top and thinner at the bottom. We can use these cubes to add them at the ends, and instead of cubes, use spheres to make them round or smooth them out. I mean, why don't we do that? I mean, let's put this underneath here and let's add a smooth layer only to that. There you go. So now we have little gooey things. And because the animation is pretty much cached, we won't have so many problems. This is because there was initial contact and the dynamics kind of flew away. But anyway, I mean, you can see that just by combining techniques which are pretty much known, they're well known, you just put everything under a builder and a mesher. It's just funny that every single one of you have had the ability to do all sorts of things like these, but you never knew what you could do with it. And now there's this new technology with the volumes and the fields, and you just put them together, and everything that kind of looked okay previously now looks super cool and gooey and all that. And yeah, I mean, if this will take you about 5 minutes to do. And as I've said, if you want to charge your clients good money, try and spend more than 5 minutes at a time. Okay, maybe 6, but that's another story. Okay, and we're going to see more things as we go. I mean, we've been here for over an hour, but I'll just keep going until if suddenly I'm quiet, I'm not saying anything. Yeah, my people that know where I live, please come and find me. Okay, so let's go further down. I need to make sure. So let me show you something. If you're going to do your own, if you go like this to read, if the microphone is not here, there you go. That's proper. So I'm going to take it with me. I hope I don't rip it out. I only buy very cheap stuff, so if I move things a bit abruptly, they will break. So, super cute question: why is field called fields? This is an interesting one. because basically it is a field. It's it's space filled with values, which is that's what a field basically is. So in the goo scene, could you randomize the weight of the boxes to have different values with the gravity effector? Oh, yeah. So that's an interesting one. So basically, in terms of deformers and all that, all right, I need to go back to the original thing I wanted to show you. So, whoops, that was wrong. But was it? So, okay. I need to show you a couple of things about what a field does, and I need to put an emphasis on what's called clamping, because it may confuse some people. So here's a matrix object. The best way to see how fields work is just by using a matrix object, but just don't make it white. So matrix, I'm going to add that. Go to effectors, and let's add a plain old effector. It's the simplest thing of all. So I'm going to turn off the colors for now. I'm going to go to my side view. Okay, and what I'm going to do is, since the distance these are moved is 100, I'm just going to make a cube which is 100 by 100 by 100. So we have a sort of a measure of what's going on. So this is our 100 line. Okay. Now I think that what I'm going to show you now is going to demystify certain things, hopefully. And I'm going to take a linear field. Right? So what this linear field does is the following. Over a length of 100 centimeters from here to here, okay, and this opens up in both directions. So if I take this and put it here, which is 100 by 100, you have 100 here and 100 here. So imagine it as sort of a radius, okay? So in the x direction, x plus, this way, okay, so this is the linear field. And if we go to the remapping, what you will see is that at the left side is what the value is going to be at the left side of it. So where this purple line is. And at the right is going to be what the value is going to be over here. Okay? This is the very simple thing that a field does. It has a value from 0 to 1, and here are the values you see. Okay? Minimum is 0, minimum is over here. Maximum is 100, and maximum is over here. And these values from 0 to 100, from 0 to 100%, which is from 0 to 1, so 10% is 0.1 as an actual real number. It multiplies at that position the value of this. So at point 0, we have 0 times 100 is 0. At the half point mark, we have 0.5 times 100, which is 50, and there it is in the middle. And at the right side, which we have the full value, it's 1. So that's the easy thing, and everyone should actually know that. Now let's take a look at this little bugger over here. This is called the list clamp. And what you can see here is that the actual field begins here and ends here, and the values don't go under 0, this is 0, and don't go above 100, and this is 100. That's because our list is clamped. If I click on this little bugger, you will say, okay, nothing really happened. And there's a reason for that. Without touching anything else, I'm going to do the following thing. I'm going to make a copy of this and call it top, because I'm going to put it on top. Go to the plane and drag it on top. And what I'm going to do, this is exactly the same as the previous one. I'm going to add it, just like we're adding arithmetic. So this plus this equals that. So this should be at 200 height now. Well, let's go and measure it. And it is precisely 200. So what you can see here is that this added to this means that the value of 100 is actually multiplied by 2. And why is that? Because at this point, the value of the field is 1 for this one, and we add another 1. So 2 times 100 equals 200, which is this. If I clamp it, then what we will see is that the calculation takes place as it did before, but any value above 1 or... Hello? Hello? Is this working? There was a interruption. Well, that's interesting. Sorry. I lost my sound and I do not know what that was. Okay, can someone... 1 second. Let me make sure. I'm just sorry for the interruption, but my feedback went down, and I want to make sure the stream seems to be working. Okay, it's working. Hello, good. Okay, cool. Yeah, I lost my feedback, and I get really stressed when I can't hear my voice. Yeah, and it has nothing to do with technology. I'm just extremely vain. So this list field only allows after the calculation has taken place, because you can see that this calculation still exists, because 0.5 plus 0.5 equals 1. 1 times 100, this is the 100 point. There you go, that's our cube, 100. So this just clamps the outcome of the list. After everything has been calculated, it just chops everything above 1 and chops everything underneath 0. And that's simply what it does. Now, here's the other clamping. So because we have more clamping here. Oh, so I think it's my earphones. I think they're going dead. So here is what happens in the other clamping, and we'll find this in the remapping tab. And you can see them down here, clamp min and clamp max. I'm doing it on purpose. So what this means is that whatever value I have here is going to be the minimum value. And what I have here is the maximum value. And of course, this doesn't make sense. So let's turn off the top, go to the bottom one, and see what's going on here. So my list is going to be unclamped. Okay? So it says here, enable, disable, value clamping. So some would say, why doesn't this go further up if it's unclamped? And the reason is that this particular field now will only give us values up to 100%. So if I unclamp this, there you go. So now, to infinity and beyond, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. It's a registered trademark. Anyway, I meant it literally, not as a figure of speech. To infinity and beyond, the value is going to continue growing. And the same thing with clamp min. So with clamp min off, although our field from this point to this point is giving us values from 0 to 100%, if I unclamp these values, then it will give us values under the minimum and over the maximum. If I turn this on again, then the list is going to clamp both. If I do this, that's fine. If I do this now, this is what we get. Because this is clamped, so this goes from 0 to 100 and then stops producing higher values and lower values. This one here is unclamped. So the addition happens from here to here, and the rest is just from the bottom one. If I confused you, just wait and see until I do this. So now the addition is happening to infinity and beyond. Okay, we're in for a lawsuit now. So this is what happens with the clamps. And once you understand how these things work, it's amazing how much more you can do with this. Because by default, we are used to working with fall-offs or even not. But it's simple to work with values from 0 to 1 because it's either nothing or 100% the value, and then you just multiply it by this or by color. But now there's extreme power because you can make things more than one. So let's take this linear field, for example. Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you, you already knew this, but you didn't even know. Let me just show you how you knew this. If I take a cube and put it here and go to, I don't know, I'm going to the x position, and then I'm going to go here and move it over here and add a keyframe. If I right click and go to show F-curve, if you don't know this, then you should watch more tutorials. What you should pay attention to is this little line here. Look at this little line here. That is the continuation of the tangency of the spline. And let's go and see this little line here. Now if I select these and make it linear, the lines are still at the same positions. And the reason is, if you select this, in the attributes you see before and after is constant. This is sort of the clamped version of what we had, but for a totally different thing. If I put this on continue and this on continue, then with just 2 keyframes, we can create a continuous motion. If you look at the cube now, it won't stop when it passes frame 42. 42, I don't believe this, I did it by mistake. 42 is Maxon's favorite number. There you go. Oh, I can actually hear myself. That means I need to turn down the volume from my laptop. So this is exactly what's going on with the fields when we are clamping. We're actually telling it to continue the values forever, whereas constant before and after would be the clamped version. If I didn't manage to convince you now, I apologize. Okay, so this is the one of the things you would understand about, you should understand about clamps and fields and so forth. Okay, so I was actually replying to something, wasn't I? What was I replying to? Yeah, it's a very easy to make me lose my my concentration. I nearly forgot about what I was trying to say. Okay. Let's see. Where are we? So no one's posting the word question. No questions here. They should do a layer. Battle. I've kind of lost what's going on. If anyone wants to post a question, please preface it with capital question. We can hear you, says Orestes Constantinidis. I realized that I would have felt extremely foolish if I've been speaking the last 20 minutes without being heard. Okay, 40 publish. Hitchhiker's Guide to... Yeah, good. Hitchhikers. We knew that. Okay. Do you know how to export Alembic, that color animation created by Field? Maxon, reply to that. Do you know how to... It's Tramps Up. How to create an Alembic that can... I don't think Alembic supports, by definition, color. Yeah. In the scene, is it possible to change the cube's weights in order to be affected by... Oh, yeah, gravity randomly. Thank you very much. That's what I was trying to... So, now imagine a totally different situation where instead of that, this thing, we don't have a linear field anymore, so forget about the linear fields. Let's go and add a random field. So what this is doing, it's producing random values, but again in kind of the same context. So I don't want to lose the idea of the question. The cubes. Let me click on that. When we say by gravity randomly, in random directions, I don't think so, but random strengths, indeed, yes. So what I'm going to do, let's create a nice little noise. So the random field is beautiful because we can actually go in the field and select noises and all the noises we know, and we get this nice preview, which can be a bit annoying, so you just turn it off. But for now, well, let's keep it here. So... in terms of brightness and contrast and all that, I think the inner strength will allow us to do something like that. Good. And I'm going to change the noise type to, I don't know, something like a Voronoi. Grow this a bit. Grow you. There you go. So now we have the noise affecting the position of these. I can turn off the view. And let's use this random field in a gravity situation. Okay. So select the matrix and... for ease of use, just swap color matrix. We've got a cube here already. Let's just make the cube smaller. Ooh, I have too many cubes. Let's go and set this to render instances. Now we have a healthy number of cubes. Change the matrix color. If I'm going too fast, well, too bad. And turn on my colors. Good. And instead of actually moving it, I'm going to go and add a simulation tag. Good. Set individual elements to all. Fantastic. Turn this off. And go to Command D, turn off gravity. And go to simulate particles gravity. In here, let's drag the random field. And let's press play. And yes, gravity. It does work. But I knew that. I just want to show you. Good. So, Javier, I think it worked. How do you use extra textures in this procedural? Use texture in this procedural workflow? Well, the good old way, where you go and you do your projections one by one, or something like that. There are ways. Again, I'm working, for anyone that wasn't here in the beginning, I'm sort of working on a semi-solution to allow people to make polygon selections or vertex maps on the mesher itself. It's going to be a Python tag. It's ready, just finalizing a few details here and there. I did not write it. I just get people to do the hard work for me. I just sit back and ponder and, say long words, Greek ones predominantly, and people are convinced to do stuff for me. It's not that easy, but anyway, can you model a car solely with VDB? Oh, right. Can I model a car solely with VDB? Is that an actual question? Really? There you go. This is how you start. And the answer is yes. You didn't say what car, though, so kind of got you here. But, yeah, sorry, I just had to say this. Well, it depends. I mean, it's up to you what the detail is going to be and so forth and how patient you are. But Glenn Johnson, the Glenster on Twitter, he has created amazing stuff using VDBs, including a lot of car parts. Anyway, sorry for this joke. But, yeah, this is a car, okay? And I don't mind what you say, but it is a car. And I can spend a bit more time and make it nice. So, let's go. Have you tried the Python field generator? Do you have any ideas? I don't know Python. I pretend I do. I can talk about it, but I can't. I can copy-paste. I'm what's called a spaghetti coder. I read code. I've known how to code since, most of you were not born, since 1982. And, but I never actually knew how to do that, like, properly. Not because I'm lazy, but I had better things to do. Anyway, I'm a spaghetti coder. I can copy-paste things and put them together, and sometimes they work. Yeah, sometimes. That's a very loose definition. So, let's go read. Is it possible to use fields in a cloner to react with, let's say, a vertex map? Yeah. So this is an interesting thing. We can use MoGraph objects and vertex maps as inputs for these kind of things. So I'm going to show you the easiest example for this. So 100 and 100, make it editable. And what I'm going to do is paint tool and just paint this. So this is some data, right? This is 1 and this is 0. So the next thing I'm just going to turn it off. We know it's there, okay? Anyway, you don't trust me, so get a matrix object, and I'm going to put a plane on the matrix and drag this in here. There you go. So what we're doing, we're using the data from the vertex map to drive whatever we want. And this is, I don't know, it's called a variable type field. Now, at the same time, we can use MoGraph objects in this context. And let's call this matrix 1. And I'm going to turn it off for now. And in here, I'm going to create another matrix. So I'm going to call this matrix 2. And I'm going to go here, use fields, get rid of this, so that little dot I did, and drag the matrix 2 in here. Okay, not as a point object. The point object would just read the actual just matrices, but as a MoGraph object, which can calculate it. It actually reads the weight of this and lots of other things. So we have this matrix now, and currently you see it's not really doing anything because there's nothing really to do. Let me turn this off. So let me make this, let's make it endpoint and 10 and 10. Okay, so let's go here and let's go, it says nearest, and oh, what am I doing? I'm always doing something wrong. Orestes again now is freaking out with what I'm doing here. Oh yeah, go to the matrix, sorry, and get the weight map up. Okay, look at that weight map. So if you drop a MoGraph object in here, one of the parameters it's going to read is the weight, and that's how we transfer weights between MoGraph objects. So let's go here and set the weighting to 100%. Over here I think I've got too much. This number is too high, I guess. Nearest, proximity max, there you go, and proximity min. So what we're doing here, we're getting each and every one of these cubes now to transfer its weight, by the way. Okay, make sure you know what I'm talking about, the weight. And let me show you exactly how we can see this even better. If I take this, so there's no effector here, okay? The effector, well, actually we're not using any of these effectors. So I'm using the matrix weight for each and every one of these matrices. Each cube represents a matrix to become a vertex map selection. So if I go to this guy here and add a plane effector without any value, but with a weight transform, and go here and add, let's say, a linear field, in theory, we should see, there you go, the values are gradually going in. And because this is a vertex map on a plane, we can use it in any context we choose to. So let's go quickly and let me show you what we could do. We can use a displacer, or even a plane effector. But anyway, just for the sake of it, we get a displacer, we add a color shader, and we go to the fall off and we drag this little bugger here. That's one way to do it. Now, again, there are easier ways to do this, but I'm just showing you how the data is being kind of transformed here. And yeah, basically, I think there's a little refresh thing going on here. Maybe I need to change the where they are. Anyway, I'm not going to bother with this. But you understand that what we're doing now is the following. We're taking a matrix that has 100% weight. We're transferring that matrix to a vertex map using a MoGraph object and a certain proximity to each and every one of the points that have those weights. Then I have a displacer that takes these values to push these up, and at the same time I'm using the plane effector to wipe off these values. So that's basically what's going on. Good. So let me see if there are any more questions. But this is just scratching the surface of what is, possible, like modeling cars. Sorry about that. Let's see what else we have here in terms of questions. Will there be a new particle system in the future? I really hope so. So that's that. What shall we expect in R21? Well, so R20 or Houdini 17. Well, if you have a life or you want a life, it's Cinema 4D. If your life is, doing really complex stuff, then no question about it. So, volume builder, smoke. No, we don't support smoke and stuff like that. Mind you, third-party renderers can use our VDBs to create smoke. So I think Redshift already works with that. So it can render our own VDB volumes. So rendering of volumes, Houdini, an entirely different beast. Smoke is generated by fluid dynamics. Mac version for that. Let's go. Export VDB simulations for free. We can open VDB files from anywhere we want. I think, let me just go and see if I can find a fireball. 1 second. There we go. So, there's a fireball I exported from Houdini, and here it is. All right, this is just a volume loader, and it has 3 grids. It's a fog, a density, heat, and temperature, and I can take any one of these, and I can use it for, I don't know, whatever I want. So let me just get a plane. Let me put it on the plus, whatever. Ooh, that's a bit small. Let me make it 10 times bigger. I think that's better. Good. And let's just go to the plane, make it 200 by 200, make it editable, and let's add something. I'm going to add a vertex map just for the fun of it. So paint tool, go here, use fields, delete this, grab this guy, put them in here, turn off this guy, and there you go. So we're basically mapping the values of this particular volume that was created in Houdini, and particularly the density grid, onto a vertex map. And we can use it in MoGraph, we can use it in visibility with an effector and stuff like that. So where were we? No particles. Okay, reference some. Exports VDB simulators for free. Blah. What about texture mapping and volumes? Yeah, that was asked above, and there's a reply. Not straightforward. Who was referenced as someone making car parts VDB? Glenn Johnson, the Glenster. Yeah, he is one of the most incredible designers I've ever met, and he does a lot of things like cars and industrial parts and all that, which are sometimes really hard to distinguish from the real stuff. Yeah, he's one of those people that have gone totally bananas with volumes. So just follow him on Twitter, the Glenster, or Glenn Johnson, and you're going to find a lot of stuff he's done. Sorry. So color mapping only in the plane effector? No. Color is one of the parameters that fields propagate. So just get a matrix and add any. Let's go and add a random effector here and add a field. You will see. Oh, what did I just say? There you go. Fields color. So you can see this. Now if I go to my parameters and turn this off, no parameters. Fields color, this little squiggly thing here means that this field is affecting a parameter, which is this. So you can see now we have randomization in the position. Now we only have color. Now we have both. Now we only have position. So, and there are some of our fields which support directional as well. I'm not going to deal with that. I still need to figure out a few things, and there are. I think you can watch some of the SIGGRAPH presentations that have a better analysis. Oh, my photo was in the way. Sorry about that. My vanity got ahead. So again, let's do this. Squiggly thing is value. Which values are these? This is color. So this is the color. If I turn this off, I only get values without color. If I turn this off, I only get color without values. If they're both on, then we get colors and values. And yeah, the color mode, fields, and so forth. All this will be quite detailed on Cineversity. Sorry about that. Will you save the whole recording later? Yeah, I got a message on Skype that my face occludes. What's wrong with my face? What's wrong with my face? Now my face occludes the whole thing. All right, this is how we're going to continue now. I'm going to describe the menus. So, up on top, there's a menu. If you click on it, it comes down, and it should... Just joking. So, let's continue. Redshift what? Yeah, Redshift, I think it can render proper smoke from our VDB volume. So you can create VDB volumes using our own volume builder and using fields and all that, and then you can just tell Redshift to render it. So now you can see the Cineversity screen anyway. So question, the vertex map fields workload, does it have to be editable to use the vertex map, or you can use the correct? You can. So the whole correction deformer thing, it works nicely, but you know, sometimes it gets in the way of things. But having said that, because fields now work on deformer fall-offs as well, sometimes for many effects you actually don't have to do pretty much anything. So let me give you an example here. I've got my goo thing going on. Let me just even if when this was editable, okay, when it was procedural, okay, imagine this procedural. I'm not going to do anything that has to do with an editable thing. So you can get a plane effector, and you can go to the fall off. You can make this a child of this and make it a deformer and point mode, okay? And I can go and put my linear field here at -y and make it smaller. And I can go and affect parts of the model. Then I'm going to go and multiply some sort of random over that. So multiply to make it smaller. Sorry, field to go to the randomness, get a noise, make it larger. There you go. Turn it off. That's when it becomes annoying. And there you go. So it doesn't need to be an editable object. There's so much stuff you can do to an object while it's still a procedural object. And, you know, because I will try and deceive you. So it's very logical that you don't trust me. I understand. I fully understand. So I'm going to make this fully procedural. So go here, add a null, drag the whole thing under here, get rid of this. So there we go. So here's our procedural thing, and it works exactly the same. Let me just go and add a few things about the caps, make this a single object, change the quadrangles, do that. You should know what I'm talking about if you've seen my tutorials. If not, shame on you. Good. And then just to make it look a bit better, we can just drop it under a, oops. The spline's always subdivided to get subdivisions everywhere. Angle 15, I guess. There you go. Then put the whole thing under a volume builder. And then put the whole thing under a volume mesher. And tell the volume builder to be like 2. And add some sort of smoothing on top. Make it 1. And let's just go here and change the value of this and make it go further down. So this is nothing more than applying, maybe if we put it on top, we've made some sort of snow thing. Anyway, but you get the idea. What you see here is a purely procedural thing. You can write something magnificent like Noseman, for example, and it will just propagate. There you go. Good, I hope that answered your question. So texture mapping volume is a bit tricky. Yep, it's a trip. If TFT isn't an option, it's nice. How does proximal shader work with this new system? Well, you don't need a proximal shader because a lot of the stuff you can do, you can actually do it now. I think this was shown somewhere from someone. I think Grayscale Gorilla in their SIGGRAPH presentation was very interesting. You get an emitter, you rotate the emitter, you put it here. After you do it -90. Sorry, I just have to make my numbers round. And basically, just go here, add a plane effector, set it to point deformation, put it under the plane, make sure your parameters are the normal direction, so -50, and go in the fall off and drag this. So now that's what happens. And then you can do things like add some sort of delay to that, and, you know, just as a springy motion, maybe add something like a grow So add a freeze, make it grow, and something like that. I don't know. I mean, you can work these things out. Something like that. And then some decay or something. But you can see that just, just by playing around with these things, you can pretty much get it to work. Does Redshift work with R20? I don't know. I think they've got a beta version. The best people to ask is Redshift. Question. What can we use the VDB files for? Well, transfer information from other software. So, like what I showed you with the smoke. You bring it in. You can mesh it. So, Fireball. You want to do some sort of effect? Just drag this under a mesher, and there you go. So now, this is ideal if you want to make like underwater bubbles. So this is nothing more than, smoke from an explosion, but you can just put this under, inside some container or something. And I guess if we make it out of glass, I don't even know. Let's just double click here. Let's make some glass transparency. Make this glass. Doobie boopie. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to just make it editable, drag them both underneath, and render. And we need something there, like. Oh, there it is. Let's put an environment or something. Let's put a sky. Let's see what this is going to do. There you go. So you can make bubbles. And I can add. All right, I'm just going to do it. Just add some sort of kitchen. Put it in the background. Render. And you got bubbles. So, yeah, of course it's useful. You get some data. Any kind of interconnection, any kind of compatibility with other applications, and it always helps. We work in mixed studio environments now. So proximal is Arnold. You are the best Noseman. Thank you very much, Ignacio. Latest version. I'm not sure, but I think Peter introduced a version of R20. If you are, I think that you'll get notice or contact that company to tell you. So, Cineversity, is possible to color volumes or fields in order to create. Nope. Currently, our volumes don't support color data. But the API allows it. So, people that do scripting and plugins and all that, they can actually do a lot of things inside our volumes that we currently don't support. So what else do we have here? Other color volumes, blah, blah, blah. Total projections, even though always work. It's too bad. Zebras, nightmare. Okay. Mentioned earlier he's working on a Python solution. Just want to find it and put it out there. Octane, I have no idea. Step import file is fine. Step export, I don't think is integrated. I don't think new CAD formats have anything to do with exporting. Just Ignacio, you retracted the message. Were you too rude? I like those messages. Espresso plus fields. Oh, espresso plus fields. Okay, let me show you something. Some of you may want to create. I think I showed this at SIGGRAPH. Anyway, I'm going to show you very, very quickly. Let's assume you want to measure your volumes. Okay, so you have this volume here. You want to see the values of it. Let's change it to fog so they can be 0 to 1 or something like that. And select this to maximum voxel fall off. So values are 0 here and 1 right there in the center of our cube. And let's say I want to measure these dots and see what the value is. I'm going to make this very. There you go. So we have one slice of voxels, okay, 0 to 1, whatever that is. And let me show you how to do it using Espresso. Just create a null, add an Espresso, go here and type fall off. Grab the fall off. Now make sure in the fall off here we have a full list. We're going to sample a position. So let's grab this null, put it here, and go and say global position. So anything, I want to get the values from anywhere this null is. Okay, so let's make it a circle so we can see it better. There you go. And where to type it? Well, let's create a text, make it smaller, put it here, drag it in here, go to the text object, drag this here, and output the value to the text object. Now, one thing you need to remember is that you need to unclamp your fall off, because otherwise it's only going to produce values from 0 to 1. And drag your builder in here, because that's where we're sampling from. If I take this now and move it, you will see that it's totally outside. Maybe I need to make this thicker. There you go. And now, wherever I put my volume, it will give me, my little probe. Call this probe. I actually get the value of that voxel. And with the SDFs, it's interesting because you can see how much different the values are with the SDF. So let me just go here and set the inner to, let's make this 2. Let's make this 10 and 10, so we can go in and out. You need to go here and make sure in the fall off that this, let's turn these off. I think the remapping needs these unclamped. There you go. So again, you need to unclamp these so that it can read all the values in here, not only from 0 to 1. So that's one thing you need to do. So now, by moving the probe, you can see the values that the SDF produces, which are very much different than the 0s to 1s. So inside the volume, it's minus. Outside the volume, it's plus, and so forth. And it will change, every 2 or something like that, because I think my resolution is 2, So this is how to make a probe. Just add a fall off, turn off all the clamps, click on this, drag whatever your volume is, and so it works with Espresso. So you added a polygon selection tag earlier to the object field on the geo. What else can we add? Can we add texture material? So let's go and do that. Again, 200, 200, and well, let's make it editable so we can add a character, paint tool, just do that, use fields, get rid of this, and you can add a shader field. So the shader field is just like any other of the shader deformers and so forth. You can either use from a material something, so let's go here and find let's find, there we go, let's find someone's beautiful face. Whew, imagine that. So I'm going to put it under a filter and just turn the color down, so I've only got black and white image. So we can see we have a material here, and this is in the color channel. Go to your shader field, in the field say color channel of this tag. Let's drag it on the plane and put it here. Whoops, there you go, put it here. Now what you see here is not the image per se, it's actually the values. These are the values of my image. Okay, simple as that. You can see it's overriding, and we're creating vertex map from an image using a shader field. And I think there are all sorts of effects you can use for this, like fall-offs and stuff like that. Volumes proves the Earth is flat. Duh. Otherwise we'll just fall down, I guess. I'm just joking. Earth is shaped as a banana, as far as I know. Question, Espresso, Espresso and fields. Yeah, that's the one. If you have more specific questions, just fire one in on Twitter. Import only, right? That's exactly the thing. Is a VDB file only the vertices or a volume? Oh, yeah. No. VDB file is actually a proprietary format made by the people that made the VDB. I think it's DreamWorks Animation and Sony and many other people that contribute to that. And it's a very particular file type. It saves a voxel grid, which is very similar to, imagine the matrix, not that matrix, this matrix, right? Imagine internally, you know that if you select 3 values with control and press control and drag 1, they all get smaller. Do you know that? Okay. Imagine internally that we have all these little positions here. And for each and every one position, we have stored values, whatever these values are, from 0 to 1. If it's a fog volume, actually they can, if it's a temperature value, it can be from minus whatever to thousands of degrees. So any value here. And the file, the VDB file, just saves all this data, but it saves it in a very compact form. And that's just about it. I am the best. Ignacio, I am the best. Thank you very much. So we're going to take the value and color and so. Oh yeah, that's all right. Shader effector, custom texture. Custom texture, is that a question? That's not a question. I think it's an answer. The format, okay. You can use this effect to simulate ink inside water if you invert the gravity and so forth. I mean, it's not that difficult to create ink inside water. Oh, yeah, you can simulate that, but in order to render it, it's going to be a bit tricky because the ink in the water is not like a bubble. Yeah, and let's forget about those kind of effects for now. I don't habla español. I milao el nica, which means I speak Greek. Hey, the Greeks are really happy. Yeah. By the way, Greek is my first language, okay? English is mostly a hobby. Holy, I can't repeat that. Loading VDB file with a volume loader. What material do I need to use for rendering? You cannot render Nighthawk. Nighthawk, pay attention. Right, I need to show my angry face. Nighthawk. You cannot render volumes unless you have Redshift or another renderer that supports VDBs. All Arnold, Octane, and Redshift, they support rendering VDB from the external file. What has been introduced now that third-party developers are adding the ability to render the VDB that Cinema 4D creates or imports. Okay, that's the difference. You can load a VDB from another program and you can do some changes to it inside Cinema 4D, and then you can render that, or just make any VDB model and render it out. Okay, let's see. I'm glad you learned a lot, Anders. I'm very glad. Did I ever have hair? Okay. I'm gonna do something now. I'm going to do something that has never been done before online. Okay, but you need to give me like 20 seconds. 211 people. Call, because I need to show you something. Okay. I just need to find it. Just give me a second. Did I ever have hair? I just need to find something. Sorry. Oh, where is it? There you go. Okay. This is a first. That is me in 1982. Right? And there is hair on the other side of my head, but much less on this side of my head. So that's it. So let's go back to Cinema 4D. Yep. Let's go here. What else do we have? Oh, the user count is growing. And PSR is the oldest setup, and Uber and Node are both Node. PBR. No, actually, so here's an interesting question by Sarah Egner. PBR is what the nodal system is based on. So it's trying to be as faithful as possible to the standards of physical-based rendering, which, by the way, there is no real standard. It's just an interpretation of a generalized technique that allows materials to look physical because it does something called energy conservation, and they can be described in a very simple manner. So what you will see is that the result from using the node materials and the result from using our physical and standard renderer when we use PBR materials like the reflectance approach is pretty much identical. So it's the nodal system currently feeds that technology. The difference is that in the new nodal system, we have some very powerful tools to allow users to create stuff you had to be a programmer to do up to this point, and now you can actually do them just by using nodes. And let me see what the replies are about my hair first of all. Okay, okay, cute. That hair wasn't cute. It was fantastic. So, you're still in the same room. Okay, hi from Calgary. Okay, let me show you. So let me show you something so that you can start playing with nodes just for the fun of it. Okay, because there is a lot of fun, and I suggest this is a good opportunity for you to start getting into the idea of nodes with this, because there is a kind of a learning curve to it, but it's interesting. So let's go with the main screen here. So let's begin very quickly. I'm not going to show you anything spectacular, but what you can do to play around and experiment. So go to create and create new node. New node material. There it is. Double click and you get the nodal editor. That's pretty much it. And now the next thing you could do to get an idea of what's going on, just create your plane or your sphere or whatever you want. Apply the material here. Add your interactive render region. And here's the simplest thing you can do. You can go and say, okay, let's open up these things: colors, bias, gains, blah, 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 context, generators. Right, generators. So basic noise, pull it up. All right, click on this little solo button and you will see it outputted on your object. This is the simplest thing you can do. Even if you open up someone else's setup, you can go and do this and you realize what this particular node does to your object in its particular position. So the idea is that any value, whether it's a number or something like that, can be pretty much, not 100%, but in many ways used in all sorts of different contexts. One thing that Cinema 4D users are not used to yet, but it will become part of your workflow, is to things which are tangible, like noises. A noise is a noise. We know it's a little thingy that's going on. We need to start understanding these as data. So a noise is nothing more than a certain pattern of numbers between 0 and 1 and everything in between. That's what it is. And that's the very small leap you need to do to understand why certain things work in certain ways. But let's go and see something like a Fresnel. So again, you can go here and let's type Fresnel. So Fresnel dielectric. There you go. Put this here and see what happens on that side. And if you can't really see what's going on, maybe you can just stick it into the emission of the object. So just put this in the emission. Turn this off. Double click. Turns off, and turn off the solo. So there you go. This is what this looks like. This is the Fresnel of the conductor. In the emission, which is the equivalent of our luminance channel, you can throw everything else away and just start playing with these things to understand what they do in their raw form. So, what's going on here? So, aluminium and whatnot. Okay, maybe it's not Fresnel what I'm looking for. Maybe it's something else. Maybe it's the names are different. That's what I need to understand certain times. So normal map. No, I don't want normal map. What else can we find here? Info, MoGraph. Oh, there's a MoGraph object. Render object, scene object, time, ray. These are the complex ones. Generators, basic noise, black body, checkerboard. Let's bring the checkerboard here. So, and let's put the checkerboard as an input for the IOR. There you go. So something happens when you put this in here, and it will change something. So the only advice I can give you at this point, without doing anything useful, which is a common thing with me, because I only want to confuse you, is you just go, you create a simple nodal material, just start throwing nodes there. If you get frustrated, don't kick any animals or break your computers. Just, slap yourselves, okay, with a little wool glove so you won't hurt yourselves. But anyway, I mean, frustration is part of the learning curve. So just play around, and tutorials are coming out. There's going to be a lot of stuff out there that will show you exactly what you need to do. So where were we here? Can you show how to make round edges through a node shader? No. We have here. Oh, Mr. Joshua Mickey. How are you, my friend? You just dropped in. We've been out here for at least 2 hours having fun. More interesting things like we can only do in Houdini before R20. I could. Again, I need to show my face. I could, but I won't. Because we're coming up to the 2 hour, 15-minute thing. I'm going to go through a few more questions. Nodes in years. You should start working, Sarah, with nodes. First of all, it's a really well implemented system. And the Germans have outdone themselves. It's you're looking into the future. Did I know Cinema 4D back then? Cinema 4D didn't exist back then. Yeah, I found Cinema 4D, I think, around 96 or something, 97. Will Oda projects materials input as PBR by default? So we haven't removed any of the other materials. So there is no conversion thing or anything like that. And currently there's no converter as far as I understand it. So the PBR and the standard material and the physical and everything is fully compatible from the older version. So there's no need to convert. What's going to happen in the future, it's a different story. I have no idea. Let's see. What's the oldest setup, you know? The Antikythera mechanism, you mean? Antikythera mechanism. Okay, so board on left corner of checkerboard to do a second checkerboard and so on. Perhaps. So, yeah, that's an interesting one. I think we can do this. So I'm just putting a checkerboard in here. There you go. I'm going to add this so we can see it. And I think that if I copy paste this and put this into one, it does the same. I need to make it half what it was. That's what I don't know. So I need to maybe. Okay. No. That's I don't know. But you can actually do that. It is possible to do that. You can't. You can see my face. Sorry. It doesn't matter. I didn't actually show anything. I just put a checkerboard in a checkerboard. So again, just take a checkerboard, plug it into the emission, copy and paste this checkerboard, and get the color one and plug it into here. I think the only way this could work would be if I change the size of this or something like that. And I think propagate port. No, that was wrong. Anyway, I'm local context. I don't even know what to put here. I think a transform. Anyway, let's see. Transform 2D. Someone at Max is screaming, no, it's a purple one. It's the purple one. It doesn't go in the blue one. Sorry. So, we can make fun of the Germans. Everyone makes fun of the Greeks. And actually, I'm not making fun of the Greeks. This is my proper English accent when I speak to foreigners. Yes, this one is the fake one. So anyway, there you go, blue and blue, found it. And I think I can go here and see something's happening now. There you go, I'm changing this, whatever. Oh, look at that, something's happening here. So yeah, this is pretty much what you need to do to learn how to use these things. Just stick things into other things and just do whatever you need to do. Yeah. Okay, so let's forget about this. I'm going to edit this out. Let's go. I think Rick is the ideal person to talk about nodes. Did I just get you in trouble, Rick? Okay, I saw that you can eliminate that annoying dialogue to save an image to the project folder, so forth. Yeah, it was mistakenly reported by a beta tester that it was. Yeah, it's in the works. Damn beta testers. Vertex map in node editor. I think there's a vertex node. I'm not sure, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this. If you type vertex map, there you go. That's it. So you just go and you stick your vertex map in here, and the tag index, so you can choose which one of the vertex maps. It's the same as the other one, but you don't have to drag and drop it. You can go by index. Is Trait Planer? No, but I think someone made a triplanar, because triplanar is not such a difficult thing to do. So it's not included, but it can be done. I came for the puns. You always do, Joshua. Okay. Oh, built in. Okay. What else? Let's see. Chart plan is better than volume. Chart plan mapping is a good thing to have. Show screen. Yes, atomic trousers. Don't you like my face? Replace hairs with objects. So you want me to put cubes under my chin? Okay. So I think this is based on a previous question. And I think that if you clone things on the hair, it will... Now, all right, let's try something here. Add hair. And I think you can clone things here. So in the generate instance, and in the instance, let's add a figure. Am I pushing it too much? So if it doesn't crash, it's going to create figures. Instance. Render. No, what is it? I forget. Spline, flat, sweep. Come on. I'm actually going to create an instance. There you go. Sorry about that. Anyway, come on. Wake up. I do not know what's going on here. It should clone, but it doesn't. I'm doing some mistake. Any geometry that it's generating, just to make it clear, any kind of geometry you're generating should propagate properly. So anyway, I'm not even going to bother with this for now. You can okay left. Nodes context. So this is kind of an interesting one. The context has to do with things like the UV and the projections and all that. So I guess there is going to be a very particular series of tutorials or a couple of tutorials on this subject. I'm not the perfect one to be able to demystify that. Okay. I'm able to load VDB files with Lenovo, but how do I get a render? Okay, yeah, we can't render VDBs, right? Had you have watched my tutorials, you would have known. So yeah, we don't support rendering of volumes currently, but we use them as a data generators to use with MoGraph, to mesh, and so forth. But third-party renderers can actually access them and render them. Okay, where are we? Can I paint welding seams on an object with volumes? Well, you can. Yeah, if you can paint anything. You can use. You can paint hairs. You can paint polygons. So I think someone the other day was doing something like that. So let's go to let's try this. Polygon pen and quad strip mode and auto. Well, I think let's, no, not like that. Paint. So polygons. And there you go. So I'm going to paint. Let's go here. Polygon radius 20. And let's do that. Take the polygon, put it. It's a bit too big, but I don't care. I'm just going to see how this works. Volume builder. And make this 5 and a volume measure. Go here, let's see. Whoops. Oh, I didn't put reprojection on. Oh, come on. Reproject results. Sorry about that. Oh, yeah, we need a closed surface. What am I doing here? We need a closed surface. So it won't work with this, but it can work with splines, I guess. Let's try this. Sketch. And if I use the snapping, enable snap, so turn this on, polygon snap. Let's go here. Let's drag this guy under here. I don't even know what's going to happen here. There you go. I'm building wells. Bzz, there you go. Tig, mig. Doody doody doody. It's over 2 hours, you know. If I'm singing, sorry. I'm entertaining myself. Good. Okay, happy? Oh man, the screen. Rick, send me a text. Sorry about that. Let me show you again. You won't see the mistakes. Okay, create new scene, create a cube. Terrible. Sorry about that. Right, so go to snapping, enable snapping, and go to your sketch. So just a spline, polygon snap. I need some sort of cube. Sorry. I need some sort of audio cue. There you go. Okay, so we're back here. Polygon snap. Make sure you're in your sketch, and I'm just gonna draw something out here because I need the original spline. Drag it under a volume builder, and then drag that under a volume measure. Let's fine-tune our resolution, so something like 3, maybe I'm going to make it 5. Let's make sure that the spline has something like 10 and 0.5. There you go. So now if I select my spline and go here and start welding, I get welds. And I can make the noise as well. Okay, there you go, welds. Done. Okay. What else? Screen, screen, screen. I've got everything off. I'm not listening. Okay, where are we? He's so focused. Yeah, Gumbo, I am. Okay. Oh, so cute. Okay. How to change the topology of the geometry of the volume mesh generator. How does a surface deform act on the surface deformer act on the mesh volume? Surface deformer. If we want to place things on it, or do you want to place this on something else? We don't have, well, let's find out what the UVs look like. So if you make this editable and double click here, this is how it looks like. It doesn't look pretty. So yeah, I'm pretty sure things are worked on. Okay. So, okay. So I think we're kind of reaching that point where only 180 people are watching now. And although I'm extremely grateful, that's 76 more than should be mandatory if we count, the Cineversity crew and a couple from good friends from Max from Germany. I hope you enjoyed this. So here is where my job ends, and now I'll show my face. There we go. So this is where my job ends and your job begins. We need to generate feedback. This was more off the cuff, all right? I had about 30 minutes of material, and, hopefully your questions saved the day, and hopefully I provided something interesting for you to look forward to. What I'd like you to do is go on Twitter, go on CG Talk, CG Society, or email me and ask for specific things. Try and be very precise what you're doing. If you have a scene file which contains a certain setup which you want to see if it works, send it over. Simplify it. Get rid of all those Octane and Redshift tags, please, and everything that's not needed. Leave anything that's there, because I would love this to become a regular thing, like twice a month, or once every 10 days or something like that. It takes a lot of work, and the most difficult part of it is actually planning what we're going to show. It can be, we can arrange in a couple of weeks or something like that to do one more of these. But the more I know what you may want to see, the more I can prepare and show you more interesting stuff. Not good-looking stuff, but more interesting stuff. And there's a ton of things which I just can't come up with. I'm not an artist. You're the artists, and you're the people that are going to kind of help out with this. So, yeah, please feel free to reach out. What I'm going to do is, after I'm going to stop my blabbing, I'm going to have the Maxon showreel playing for a bit, about 10 minutes, if you want to add any closing comments. So I'm going to close this down in maybe a couple of minutes. And then for the next, I would say 10 minutes, up until, in the next 10 minutes, you can still post, and then we're going to totally stop the stream. So I want to thank Rick and the rest of the Max and Yes crew for helping me put this together. It's going through the Cineversity stream. I really want this whole thing to I want this thing to start again, and we can have guests, we can have all sorts of things. I talk about them in the beginning, and it's all up to you. So, thanks for being here. Thanks for keeping me company. It was a very enjoyable 2.5 hours, and I hope to see you very soon again. And, for the next 10 minutes, post anything you want. And, as usual, what do we say for Cineversity Live? Cineversity Live knows. That's for Noseman. Okay. YouTube activates it automatically. Yeah. Okay. So let me put the show reel, and talk to you soon. Bye-bye.